Explorers, Expeditions, and a huge selection of Broncos and Bronco sports. They're in stock now at Folsom Lake Ford. Shop Folsom Lake Ford, your truck headquarters, right here in Sacramento for your favorite Ford models at good, fair prices. Short on cash? Buy any new Ford with zero down. Save big with low interest finance rates. Plus, Folsom Lake Ford is paying top dollar for all trades. We want your vehicle regardless of mileage or condition. This could be the best time to buy a new Ford. Check out the huge inventory online at folsomlakeford.com or stop by the dealership and see the most recent arrivals. Looking for something special? Give them a call and tell them Doug Christie sent you. Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall, your trusted dealer, my trusted dealer for over 30 years.
Game night, getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome into game night right here. Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh along with the high flyer, Henry Turner. It's game 3 of the longest road trip of the year for Sacramento, the 7-game roadie. Tonight finds themselves in San Antonio, getting ready to take on the Spurs. Sacramento with a big-time win last time out at Minnesota, getting the overtime victory, evening out the season series against the Timberwolves. And, of course, Henry and I will be with you until 4:30 today. We, of course, on air live here. You can call us at 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 916-339-1140. We've got the YouTube up and as well, and we'll be talking during the timeouts there. We'll have some extra content for you. So if you get a chance, log on to Sactown 1140 on the YouTube and give us a like if you can do that as well. But Henry, that was a big win for the Kings on Monday night. That could have gone the other direction. They took over in overtime, and of course Trey Lyles was great.
You know, Scott, a huge win for the Kings. Love the way they bounced back, understanding that the first game didn't, play out the way they wanted to play, but they had to go back in and make some adjustments. And then, when you have those type of back-to-back games like that with the exact same opponent, you really have to go in and say, okay, what worked, what went well, and then what went wrong, and be able to change it at a drop of a hat. It isn't like the game, is 2 weeks apart. You just played them a day and a half ago, so everything should be fresh in your mind.
Yeah, definitely fresh in the mind. And, Mike Brown, after the game on Saturday night, was talking about defense, tried to find combinations that would work. Obviously, the defense on Monday night was much better for Sacramento.
The overall effort and intensity was there, Scott. But I'll tell you the best move Mike Brown made the whole night was to put Trey Lyles at the 5. When he did that, and you know what, and it might have been out of just straight necessity because Sabonis had fouled out.
Sure.
But when he put Trey Lyles at the 5, that changed the game completely for the Sacramento Kings. A guy who can step outside, knock down the three-point shot. That pulled Rudy Gobert out. Rudy Gobert had to, really contest every shot that Trey Lyles was going to take from that three-point line, and then that left the rim open. Guys could get to the rim and score.
Trey Lyles was great. And Sabonis, first of all, I thought he was thrown out of the game. I didn't realize he was still eligible to come back in. That was interesting. And they did pick up a sixth foul and went out of the game. But certainly what Trey Lyles did was just awesome for Sacramento.
It was huge. I mean, that changed the game, Scott. Rudy Gobert was down in the middle. He was making guys change shots up all day and night. I'm not saying he's actually blocking shots, but just having him down there and guys understand that Rudy Gobert is a big time shot blocker, it changes the way you shoot your shot. But when Trey Lyles came in, he stepped out on the 3-point line. First thing that Malik Monk did was drove straight to the middle. Rudy Gobert collapsed. He kicked it out to Trey. Trey knocked down that three. For the next play, Rudy Gobert can't be in the middle now, because if Trey hits another three, the game is over with right then and there.
No question. Trey played 16 minutes, had 11 points. Of course, he was instrumental in the overtime. And a couple of thoughts from that. First of all, did we find our backup five for the Kings? We've been talking about all season long how the Kings get pounded inside. Is this the alternative now where you play Trey at the 5, you go a little small ball, you truly have a stretch with the Trey Lyles that at least can make matchups tough the other way?
Scott, I honestly think that if Mike is still looking for that backup 5, what Trey Lyles brings to this basketball club is that he is a legitimate stretch. So you don't lose anything on the offensive end. Honestly, I think you gain. Depending upon who you playing, I really think you gain, because Rudy Gobert is the type of center to where, yes, they utilize him big time on the defensive end, but they don't really use him that much on the offensive end. So, yeah, Trey Lyles can guard him. They don't run the offense through Rudy Gobert. So when on the defensive end, when you pull Rudy Gobert out from up under that rim, Rudy Gobert is no more good for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, yes, that was a huge part of what they did. And, thanks to the brilliant mind of Mike, to put him out there and make that happen.
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking, as I'm watching that unfold and Gobert, he had a decent night, 19 and 14. He was exposed, certainly in the overtime. How did Minnesota give up so many draft picks for Rudy Gobert?
Well,
I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a player that you give up multiple first-round picks for, is he?
Well, Scott, you have to look at what Minnesota had and what Minnesota was trying to keep. Okay, Karl Anthony Towns was ready to go. He was ready to say, you know what, if y'all don't bring me no help down here, I'm ready to leave. So it wasn't the fact that Rudy Gobert is this hell of a player. It's one of those things to where he's the best at what he does at that particular time. And you bring in a guy to where Karl Anthony Towns signs off and say, okay, well, now we got a guy that's going to grab rebounds. We got a guy that's going to block shots. So I don't have to do all the dirty work.
Okay, and that's all great. But still, to give up what they did to get him?
Well, you have to understand, Scott, it's not to get him. It's to get him and keep Karl Anthony Towns happy.
I understand it's a 2-in-1 package.
Yes.
But could you have negotiated better than that?
Bro, what was you going to get? I mean,
I don't know, but
you have to
give away the farm.
You have to give away the farm. The farm would have been if Karl Anthony Towns would have said, trade me. I want to be traded.
Okay.
Now the farm is gone. You don't have no farm, no animals, no feed, no nothing.
All right. Well,
so just
the farm right now is fallow because Big Cat isn't playing. He'll be back, of course,
and he's out, Scott. We understand that. But at that particular time, they had to keep Karl Anthony Towns happy. If they didn't, well, we're not even talking about Minnesota. No way, no how.
I hear you. Okay, fair enough. All right. Trey Lyles was great. De'Aaron, of course, was great as well. Another 30-plus point game. It's nice he's having it the week of because the selections are coming out tomorrow for the All-Star game.
Man, I mean, De'Aaron is playing lights out. I mean, he is playing some of the best ball I have ever seen him play. And, Scott, I have been very critical on De'Aaron because I always understood that he could be a guy where you're talking about deserves an all-star look. But right now, man, he is just above and beyond that. When you talk about him making the all-star team, the only thing that scares me about that is that you have so many good guards in the West.
You do.
It's a lot to choose from. But when you talk about does he deserve it? Yes, he does.
There's no doubt about that. So, again, the selections for the reserves coming out tomorrow. It's a big day. I think we're going to see both Sabonis and Fox on the All-Star team, but we'll find out for sure tomorrow. Other takeaways from the game on Monday night, certainly for Sacramento, as you look at it here, they got 45 bench points, and that was a big difference from Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't get a lot from the bench. Malik Monk was great. He had 19 points, but it was a collective effort. We talked about Lyles as well. Davian Mitchell contributed, and we saw a TD sighting on Monday night as well.
Saw a TD sighting. He got a chance to get off the bench and hit a couple 3-pointers where the Kings really needed them.
Yeah, he did.
So I don't know if that's going to equate to us seeing TD more or not, because, the last game he started, he had a very good game. He had Kevin Huerter type numbers. So, and then, we didn't see him anymore. But at the end of the day, he was able to come off the bench and help. The one thing that Malik Monk brings you, Scott, is he brings you another facilitator. Yeah. And I like the way him and Fox is playing the Batman Robin on the offensive end, because usually Fox gets all the attention and everybody's looking at him. But now Fox gets the chance to give the ball to Malik. Malik is running the offense. Yep. He's the facilitator, and Fox get to roam around to where he's the catch and shoot guy.
Yeah, for sure. And, Kevin Huerter didn't have a good game. He was 1 of 7 floor, didn't make a 3-pointer. And Mike Brown didn't go back to him. He kept the roster, the lineup that was working with Monk out there on the floor.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, it worked.
I don't have a problem with you keeping out on the floor who's working. Just because you're quote unquote a starter doesn't mean that you always have to be on the floor in crunch time. That's one thing that I like. He has the ability to do, and he has the mindset to do, because there's a lot of coaches that would love to say, okay, I want to experiment with this guy. He's playing better, but you know how it is, Scott. The organization's like, well, what are we playing a starter for? Coach Brown is like, I'm winning a basketball game. I don't care who's out there. We are a team. And if we win as a team, everybody looks good.
No doubt about that. All right, from Minnesota, we got another taste of just how good Anthony Edwards is. This kid is a star in the rising.
You talk about De'Aaron Fox making the team. Well, Anthony Edwards is another guy right there that's making it hard for the selection at that guard position. Anthony Edwards, yes, is a definite rising star. This young man is playing some great basketball. And, and from what I saw against the Sacramento Kings in both games, the league is in good hands, Scott. I mean, we got some very good, young, all-star caliber type players that's ready to take over this league.
Yeah, no doubt. So the Kings with that win, 7 games above 500. Again, 28-21, 2 games above 500 on the road. They've won 7 of 10. And I think that the biggest point, and this is what you've been harping on, is that the Kings have never really let go of the rope in a situation where it's been like losing 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. This was one of those games you lose the first 2 on the road trip. Who knows where it may go after kind of sliding a little bit at home late in the homestand. So big win for them.
Scott, it's big in the overall scheme. Of course, if they would have lost the game, you look at it and say, okay, sure, they're not dead in the water.
Of course not.
But you look at what could happen if they start getting on a losing streak. And then what I'm looking for is where the Kings going to be if they keep playing this way at 50%, to where you might lose a game, but you're going to win a game. You might lose another game, but you're going to win a game. And you play 500 to All-Star break, man, you are in very good situation as far as trying to make that long haul.
Yep. So good setup for the Kings. And again, the road trip continues today in San Antonio. It'll be Indianapolis on Friday. They'll take on the Pacers before going to New Orleans, and they'll finish up with 2 against the Rockets. We'll take the break. When we come back, we'll focus in on San Antonio a little bit. And of course, we love talking about Greg Popovich and everything going on with the Spurs. Game night is always being brought to you by our good friends at Power Business Technology. Experience how the power of family can help your business office equipment needs today. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or go to powercopiers.com. It is game night rolling along right here on Sactown Sports 1140. All right, High Flyer, we had a lot of fun with the YouTube on Monday. We're going to continue that. Yeah, I know. Henry can't
let me go in there.
So, yep, Nate, we'll get this figured out here. Maybe you set that up intentionally, Henry. You don't want to hear me. That's a good possibility. As you see Nate on the screen now, Nate, our executive producer, of course. There you go. Thumbs up. I was saying, I think you purposely set it up so you didn't have to hear me.
No, not at all. Come on, man. I was just talking to you.
I know.
It wasn't that bad, was it?
I don't know. You'd have to tell me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I pushed the button.
All right. So, Nate, what do we got?
We got a poll up right now.
Let's hear the poll question.
So it's just more deadline talk. I mean, that's going to be all the rage until Tuesday,
Yes,
and
it
maybe
is.
even after Tuesday, depending on what happens. But I just want to know if the Kings make a move. So it's just a yes or no. But who and why? Like, I think they make a small move where a player they don't move HB or anything like that. I think it's if they do make a move, it's a numbers thing, clear some cap or just move some money around. But I'm just curious what you guys think. Do you think something's going to get done?
I don't think they're going to make a move, not because they don't want to. I just don't know what's out there. I don't think there's a major move that they're going to make, like they did last year, obviously, with Halliburton. I don't think there's a Sabonis type trade going on with this team this year.
Why would you make a low end move when the camaraderie is so good with this team?
Right.
You already said, okay, you're not going to move Harrison Barnes and you're not going to move the other starting four on the team. And then, we're looking at Davion Mitchell. We're looking at Malik Monk. We're looking at Trey Lyles. And if you're not going to move neither one of those guys, anybody else below that, why move them? Because the camaraderie is so good. You're not going to move a Terrence Davis for a guy that's going to come in here and play major minutes. We can't even find minutes for Terrence. Okay, you're not going to move Metu or Rashawn Holmes or even a Lynn for a guy who's going to come in here and play major minutes. Major minutes is not what you're going out looking for a guy for. So to make a serious splash for the Sacramento Kings, I don't think it's out there for them this season.
Well, have we talked Mason Plumlee on the show at all?
Everybody's talking Mason Plumlee.
Because that's what me and Chris do a lot. Yeah, because Talking Kings brings it up, and I mean, he fits in well. He fits in very well as a passer. What do you guys think?
Well, I will say this. To get Mason Plumlee, you're going to have to give up all 5 of your reserves if you don't want to give up one of your starters.
You're going to have to give up a first rounder.
That's what I'm saying. It's not going to happen right now, because to get Mason Plumlee, you got to give up something. Mason Plumlee isn't a guy to where you can say, okay, we're going to give you Rashawn Holmes. We're going to give you Terrence Davis in the second rounder. Nobody's going to take that.
I don't think so either. I don't think he's a realistic get. I think he would be a good fit.
He's a realistic get, but Scott, you're going to give up one of those starting 5 to get him.
That's why I say it's not realistic. That's what I mean by that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think the price is too much.
We're coming back right here in 3 seconds, guys.
Welcome back into Game Night right here, Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh along with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. We'll take you until 4:30 today. Kings Live pregame coming up at 4:30. Tip tonight, Kings and Spurs, 5 o'clock. G-Man with the call right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Some great conversation during the break in the YouTube. If you can log on there, our poll question, are the Kings going to make a move? Yes or no? We chatted about that. The question I want to ask as we kind of delve into this on air. Okay, the Kings are third place in the Western Conference right now. They're 28-21. It's been an amazing season. Everything's trending. We also know that the top 12 teams in this league have 26 losses or less. So it's not like their lead between 3 and 12 is humongous. Mm-hmm. But on the other side of it, Denver's only 5 games ahead in the loss column. The Grizz are only 3 games ahead in the loss column. I mean, we could easily be talking about the Kings at 1 as we could, 8, 9, or 10. I mean, just from wins or losses. So what my question is, are we undervaluing Sacramento right now? Because we talk about what's the ceiling for the Kings in the playoffs? Winning a playoff series, which would be humongous. Just getting to the playoffs is a massive accomplishment.
Exactly.
But are we undervaluing? Does this Kings team, just looking at the numbers right now, they're third in the Western Conference. As I said, they're only 3 games back of Memphis in the loss column for the number 2 seed right now. Is this a team that could not only win around, but is this a team that really could threaten to get into a Western Conference final? And if so, as the trade deadline is coming up next week, is Monty McNair thinking, if I could make an incremental move that doesn't change the overall chemistry of the team, would that be enough of a move to put you really in an upper echelon position right now?
Let me say this. You're talking about, can this basketball team, you talk about come out of the Western Conference because they're in third right now. I would say it's a two-part answer for me, Scott. Offensively, the Kings can do whatever they want to. The sky's the limit. If you're talking about just playing great offense, the Kings have enough to come out of the West, no doubt. They are very, very good offensively. But we know when the postseason comes, that's a different scenario altogether. You better have an overall game when you talk about postseason. Even Mike Brown has said it in some of his pressers. Yes, being a big-time offensive team, you're going to win some basketball games. But when you talk about getting to the nitty-gritty of things, when the rubber hits the road, you're going to have to be able to be dominant rebounding the basketball. Don't turn the ball over. Be able to, stop guys from getting down into the teeth of the offense. It's a lot of other things to where the Kings have to get better. Now, you talk about defensively. Are they right now, this minute, defensively, are they able to come out of the West? I don't think so, because their defense, is up and down. It's too erratic to say, yes, they can come out. But if they get it together to where they get, on a string, and they can play team defense, and they can swarm like Toronto. Okay. They got offside shot blockers like Memphis. If they get basketball IQ high enough like Golden State, yes, then you talk about, well, the Kings can come out of this thing and go to the championship. Yeah.
And I guess to that point, knowing that the trade deadline is looming, we've thrown out a lot of names. We've heard Mason Plumlee's name mentioned a lot. Would he be a guy who would be enough of a difference maker where we're talking about the Kings being a legitimate threat in the West?
I tell you what, yes, to be a legitimate threat in the West, because I think they're that now.
Okay.
A legitimate threat. Now, would you say for the Kings to come out of the West, can one guy come here and make that happen? I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's going to take a guy or two to say, yeah, the Kings can come out of the West. I'm talking about Western Conference champions.
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting because where they're sitting right now, being a top 3 seed, of course, they would have a home first round game in this scenario. Tons of games to play here. We understand all of that, but are we underestimating where they're at? It's an interesting conversation. It's a big week, obviously.
No, Scott, we're not underestimating, but what you have to understand is that in a playoff series,
yes,
like right now, when the Kings put Trey Lyles at the number 5,
right,
that's a gimmick defense, straight out gimmick. How many times you think that's going to work if we got to match up with Denver?
It's going to be tough.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
you might get them once.
It's going to be tough. Whoever you have on the floor,
you might get them twice with the gimmick defense. But we're talking a 7-game series. Mm-hmm. They're going to figure that out. Yeah. And now your gimmick that had you win the basketball game, that don't work anymore.
Yeah, you can win 1. You maybe can't win 4.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when you talk about coming out, you got to get past those teams in 4 games.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's going to be a big week. Obviously, tomorrow, the All-Star reserves announced. We're hoping for the best on that front. Trade deadline looming next week. What is looming tonight, though, is San Antonio. And the Spurs, again, it's always hard for me to get the mindset because this is a team in the Wembanyama sweepstakes. There's no doubt about it. It's a team that's not playing good basketball right now. It still has Greg Popovich. They lost last time at home, 127-106 to Washington. And by the way, the Wizards are playing better, but the Spurs, they've lost 6 in a row. They've lost 11 of 12. It was a horrible January. They went 2-13. So, again, you look at it, tonight's a game that Sacramento should take advantage of.
Scott, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm in love with this new Sacramento Kings basketball team, but I'll tell you, their opponent tonight isn't the San Antonio Spurs. The Sacramento Kings' opponent tonight are the Sacramento Kings, because we've seen this basketball team, when they're not looking down at the other end, seeing all-star caliber players, well, they tend to let their foot off the accelerator, and I really hope that they understand this run. These 7 more games before the All-Star break could be very crucial for them. You're talking about right now being undervalued. Can they make it to that number 1 spot? If they can play 500 ball up until this All-Star break, that number 1 spot going to be real close for them.
No doubt. It is. I mean, that's, again, the upside that we're talking about right now.
Right. But when you look at, okay, we're looking on paper again, like, most media guys do. You look at the next 7 games for the Kings. Can these 7 games push them to that number 1 spot if they play Kings type basketball? No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt, especially just with the schedule. The Pacers have been awful since Tyrese has been out. They've lost 10 of 11. The Pelicans have lost 9 straight.
Right.
And Houston has been terrible.
Houston is Houston. So these last 10 games, the Kings can do something special.
They really can. They really can.
But
they can set themselves in a great spot.
In every last one of those games, I honestly think the Kings' opponent are the Sacramento Kings because they have enough to beat each and every last one of those teams. But if they don't come out and play good basketball, no NBA team is going to give you a game.
Oh, that's for sure. And again, every team has NBA players to the point, right? So you can't take anything for granted, and Sacramento certainly can't tonight. But certainly San Antonio is a team that's really, really struggled here. And we've talked about it a lot. Greg Popovich, we don't know how much longer he's going to be there. But, it's definitely a total rebuild mode for him. It's something we're not accustomed to.
No, we haven't seen Pop in this situation. Since the early 80s?
Yeah.
He's had very, very capable basketball teams. Even if he didn't have championship-bound teams, he was always in that playoff run and talking about making it out of that first round, maybe to the second round. So this is definitely uncharted waters for the San Antonio Spurs. But, Scott, this is the NBA. Pretty much every team has to go through this.
No question. Well, the Kings have won the first 2 games of the year back in November, 130-112. Back in January, 132-119. So again, a great opportunity for the Kings this afternoon. We'll take the break. When we come back, we're going to look around the league, get you caught up on everything that happened last night, all the news and notes currently in the association as well. That overtime game in New York last night between the Lakers and the Knicks. LeBron James is now under 100 points from catching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Wow.
He's now number 4 all time on the assist record.
Seen that.
We'll talk about that as well. It is game night right here. Sactown Sports 1140.
All right, we're going to get going in the chat again. Chat's kind of light right now. I'm telling people to ask, dude. People can drop whatever they want in there, and we'll answer it. You good, Scott? They're playing. Scared me there, Scott.
We can't hear them. So
no, yeah, I turned them off from you guys.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
YouTube it is. Go right ahead, YouTube, Nate. What do you got for us?
So we have someone in the chat. Kais, I think it is K-A-I-S. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. She's a little worried that the Kings could play to their competition tonight, because I know they do that quite a bit. They'll play down. This season it's definitely happened, but over the years they do that a lot. Are you guys worried about that at all?
Yes, big time. I'm worried about that. I just said on air that the Kings aren't playing San Antonio. The Kings are playing the Sacramento Kings. They're going to have to come out and play the exact same way. If they're looking at the Lakers, they're looking at Phoenix, they're looking at the Clippers. They have to come out with the exact same intensity that they do when they play teams that have big-time players.
Yeah, definitely. I get worried, too. Like, we got those 2 Houston games coming up. Those are, we're joking last time we did this must win, but those are, you have to win those games. Like, obviously it doesn't knock you out of the playoff picture, but those are games you got to win as the Kings.
No, the thing about it is that those are the games you have to win if you want to do something special. At the end of the day,
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you beat the quote unquote good teams, but you lose to the teams that you're supposed to beat, you haven't done anything special. All you did was swap games. So if you go out, let's say, for example, you go out and you get Memphis and you get Denver, and then you drop 2 to Houston, Well, those 2 games didn't mean anything.
Yes, very true. Sorry, I was going over the air there for a sec. I had to pull that off. We got Philip in the chat too, talking about making a trade at the deadline. He says nothing needs to be done, and I think I agree with him. I think we just ride this year out and we see what happens.
Well, this team has proven that they're good enough, right, to make the playoffs, which was the goal. Okay, they're good enough to maybe get top 6 in a first-round home playoff series. They're good enough to win a first-round home playoff series. Can they do more? That's what we were talking about last time here, of course. If they made a move, could they get even to the highest echelon? Is the team in the highest echelon right now? I'm not sure, because I didn't think this team would have 28 wins at the moment either. So if you asked me in October what this team would look like, I wouldn't say 28 and 21. So I can't write them off for anything right now.
Yeah.
I would either. I mean, at the end of the day, I wouldn't write them off, but I still can't say that I'm looking at this team saying that they can come out the West. I definitely don't think they're there yet. As much as I love this basketball team, but I know the totality of everything this team does, and defensively, they're still not there. And I'll tell you, if you ask Mike Brown, he would tell you the exact same thing. Offensively, they're there. They got everything figured out. They got enough to win. Defensively, it's something totally different.
All right, we're coming back, guys.
All right, welcome back into game night right here. Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall with the High Flyer head return.
We burned the candle on both ends, aren't we?
We are going full 60 now between the chat on YouTube during the breaks and everything here. We are getting our money's worth for the full hour.
I tell you, I can't even get a break, get no water, man. Brother thirsty.
Our phone numbers, if you want to call us, 1-800-920-1140. And again, you can text us 339-1140. Join us on the YouTube as well at Sactown 1140. Give us a like there. We would appreciate that. Game night being brought to you by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento. If you have a heart to serve in our community, especially children in need who need a mentor, this could be a great opportunity for you. Children ages 7 to 18 who are being raised by single parents or grandparents or foster parents in Sacramento could use a mentor. They will line you with a kid in the area. You can find out more information about it at 916-646-9300 or visit bbbs-sac.org to get all the information there. All right, let's go around the league a little bit. Obviously, the game last night was the overtime win this time versus the overtime loss on Saturday for the Lakers, where the referee union came out and apologized to LeBron and all that stuff. And then suddenly he's shooting all these free throws the next night and all this stuff, right? Well, they win in overtime against the Knicks. Great game. LeBron, as we highlighted, because you got to give the man his praise, surpassed 2 players, again, the 4th place all-time on the assist record. He went by Mark Jackson, and he went by Steve Nash. That's a pretty good night when you pass both Mark Jackson and Steve Nash to move up to number 4 on the all-time assist list.
When you talk about being big time in the assist category and you're not a point guard, because pretty much everybody on that list was quote unquote a point guard, a guy that handled the ball, a guy that facilitated the offense. That just goes to show, Scott, about today's basketball and how much has changed, where you can be a guard, forward, center forward, whatever LeBron is, because LeBron James is everything for that team. But you can be that guy and still be able to get those type of assist numbers.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And of course, the big one is coming up real short now. I mean, the way LeBron has been scoring here, like it seemed like it was going to be March when he would pass Jabbar earlier in the year. Now it's definitely going to be February. 89 points away from becoming the all-time leading scorer in NBA history.
Wow. I mean, that is an incredible feat. I don't like watching the Lakers when they're not playing the Kings, because I really don't care what they do. But I will say this, when it gets close, I'm going to tune in, because I definitely want to be, in a situation to where if someone asks, where were you the day that LeBron James became the all-time leading scorer and broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record, that unbeatable record, but he was able to beat it? Where were you? Were you watching that game?
Oh, yeah, that is a moment in NBA history that might be right up there at the top of them, quite honestly.
It has to be at the top, because you are the number one scorer of all time. It's not disputed. It's not disputed. You know, we can always dispute, is he the greatest player of all time?
Yeah.
We can always argue that. But you can't argue. When he breaks this record, he is the number one scorer of all time in the NBA.
Yep. Do you think they're going to orchestrate in terms of when he does it? So you look at the schedule. They're at Indiana tomorrow. They play at the Pelicans on Saturday. Then they come home. They get the Thunder on Tuesday, and then it's the Milwaukee Bucks on Thursday. And of course, Abdul-Jabbar started his career in Milwaukee, ended it in LA. It just seems fitting that would be the night he breaks.
Scott, you so petty, bro. You're so petty, bro.
How am I petty?
How is
that petty?
How are you going to bring up Milwaukee in this, man? I mean, we know Kareem played for Milwaukee, but he got the scoring title with
of course,
the Lakers.
But I mean, he was an MVP. He won a championship in Milwaukee.
Boy, you gonna just put it all together, ain't you? You know what?
Okay.
I honestly don't think that it's going to be a storyline there. And then, you know, you can always throw that out there, but I think it's going to be more attention on him doing it in LA.
Yeah. If he gets like 45 against Indiana and he's up around 40 against New Orleans, you might see him coming out of that game. Maybe.
Pulling him out?
Maybe. I guess it depends on what the score, score and time of the game and how close it is, all that stuff. But
you know what?
To your point, he wants to break it in LA.
Let me throw this out there at you.
Yeah.
How close you think LeBron is watching this?
Oh, very closely. Come on.
How close?
He has orchestrated his whole career.
I mean, because
that's my point about this too.
Scott, he's going to get it. It isn't a question of is he's going to get it.
Yes.
The only way he can't get it this year is something catastrophic.
Yeah, we don't want.
He has an injury.
Of course not.
But he's going to get it.
Yes.
So that's not even a question.
Right.
So do you think he think about, okay, well, let's try to get this thing to where, okay, I got to score 40 tonight. And if I drop a good 38 against New Orleans, that means when we go back to LA, probably like the third quarter, I'll be. I mean, you think he's thinking of it that way?
I think he is.
Oh,
I think he is.
Boy, you petty, man.
I think he is.
You first team all petty, Scott.
All right. Speaking of the Lakers, then we'll move on because the trade deadline, we're talking about it for every team. Where are the Lakers going? They made the move for Hachimura, which was a good move. They didn't give up a lot. They don't have a lot to give. Are they going to make other moves? I mean, LeBron basically has said, my feelings on what we need to do here, which basically we need to make some moves. So what are they going to do?
Man, I mean, what can they do, Scott?
They don't have a lot to offer, that's for sure. I mean, Westbrook would be the key giveaway if anybody wanted him. But he's playing pretty well right now.
I think of two players that they can probably get, man, that would change their scenario. I honestly think Boogie Cousins would help them. I think if they would go get Boogie plays very well with AD. And then, when AD wants to be in street clothes, you can still utilize Boogie. And then the second guy, I think Rajon Rondo would help them out big time.
Yeah, you've mentioned his name a lot.
Because he's a guy that makes the others better. I don't care who he's been on the floor with. Rajon Rondo made Willie Cauley-Stein look very, very good as a center. So when you're looking at what the Lakers have, you put that dude on that roster, he's going to make some of those other guys better.
Yeah. Overall, do you think it's going to be a big trade deadline? Do you think we're going to see a ton of moves?
Oh, now, you know what? I really haven't even started thinking about other teams because, man, I've been riding this Sacramento Kings wave, bro. I've been so happy with what we're doing. I haven't even been worried about, okay, well, you know what? Think the Clippers going to make a move or, what's going to happen down there in Dallas? Because, Luka trying to get it done by himself and he can't. He needs something else. I really haven't been too concerned with that. But I think it's going to be a couple of moves being done.
Yeah. How about you mentioned a couple of things I wanted to get to. We'll get to Luka. So he put up 53 last night against the Pistons, and he was chirping with the bench. The Pistons assistants were getting into it with him a little bit, and all he did was put a 53 piece on them, and he chirped right back.
And he's doing that, Scott. Luka is having a Herculean type season. He's killing it and on the offensive end. Scoring and assist and all this stuff. But where's Dallas at in the overall scheme of what's going on? They're still at the bottom. Luka can do all the scoring he wants. It isn't enough for them to make that long haul.
Is it? I mean, they went to the Western Conference Finals last year. They're 27-25.
the long haul, Scott,
Yeah.
like I said, Luka's going to be able to win games because he can score the basketball.
Sure. They beat the Suns last year in a 7-game series.
Yes, they did. I'm talking about right now.
Okay.
You put Luka in another 7-game series with the team that knows that if you stop Luka, they don't have enough to beat you. You're not going to beat me 4 games, Scott. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen.
I hear you, but who's been stopping Luka regardless of who they've been throwing at him?
It's a different game playoff time. I keep trying to tell you that.
I hear you.
It's a different game.
I hear you. But the Mavs beat the Suns by 40-something in Game 7 last year, too. So that's all I'm saying. Clippers, the other team I wanted to get to. They're 29-25. Kawhi playing well. That's the first part of it.
Yeah.
But the Clips are starting to round into form right now. They're actually 4th in the Western Conference.
I'm not putting nothing past the quote unquote, super teams, because once they get healthy and get everything going, they have enough firepower, man, to really, correct the ship. I feel that way about the Clippers. I feel that way about Dallas. I feel that way about the Lakers. I feel that way about, a couple of teams those teams that have been structurally saying, okay, they're going to make the playoffs, or this is a team that can come out of the West. When they get everything going, if they get everything going and get everybody on the same page, after All-Star break, they can definitely make up some ground.
Yeah, no, I think so too. All right, let's look at the schedule for tonight. Orlando is in Philadelphia. They get the Sixers, Trailblazers, and Grizz coming up tonight. Let's see here. We're going down the list here. Of course, we know Kings at Spurs. You got the Warriors and the Timberwolves. You got the Raptors at the Jazz. Busy night. Hawks and Suns. Postponed game tonight. That's kind of interesting. The Wizards and Pistons postponed in Detroit because of ice storms.
Yeah, it's a little cold. It's even cold here in California, so I can imagine what it is back there.
Yeah, a little chilly. Maybe the marquee game, Nets and Celtics. Again, no KD, but Kyrie. You got Tatum going. That's a fun game tonight.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that can be, if everything falls right, that can be, your preview of who's going to come out the East.
Yep. And then you have the Thunder and the Rockets. All right. So that rounds out the schedule. We'll take the break. When we come back, we'll focus in specifically Kings and Spurs. Sacramento looking for their 3rd straight win of the year and 5th overall against San Antonio. We'll get you to the Who's on the Floor report. All of that and a lot more. It is game night right here. Sactown Sports 1140.
All right. I'm not over here this time.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's good. It's not good to talk over
we can hear
commercials.
you on YouTube.
That's good. Yeah, that's great. I want to ask you guys, someone brought up Holmes in the chat. It was Patrick. You guys think he's going to be on the team in a week? Rashawn?
Now,
he's their most movable piece, right?
He's been getting some serious minutes lately. I mean, serious to an extent, but he's playing, and that's good.
Yes, he's a guy that definitely can be moved. I talk about those last 3 on the roster, and honestly, I'm going to throw Terrence Davis in there also. I'm going to throw
Patrick mentioned TD too.
Yeah, I'm going to throw TD in there. I'm going to throw Alex Lynn. I'm going to throw.
That's exactly what he said. That's what the comment says.
I'm going to throw Rashawn Holmes in there.
Okpala can be put in that mix.
I don't think Okpala is going to have any suitors, because Okpala is a Mike Brown guy, and Mike Brown's not going to get up off of Okpala. I would say, I don't even think Metu's going to get moved. I think it's those 3 that the Kings are willing to get rid of, because the other ones are a part of the chemistry. I'm not saying they're going to get major minutes, but I think they're part of that chemistry, because whenever Mike Brown wants to go to his offense-defense type situation, KZ gets that call.
Yep.
KZ and Davion gets that call. So I don't think Mike Brown is even thinking about moving that guy.
Are the Kings, you think, willing to part with a 1st-round pick to do something?
Depending upon who you're getting.
Yeah. Of course, it always does.
Yeah, it all depends on who you're getting in return.
Well, let me ask you this too. We got another Patrick in here, Patrick Donaldson.
Hi, Patrick Donaldson.
He says Philly's looking for a backup big. Where do you think Rashawn Holmes would fit in that isn't Sacramento? Where would you like to see him go?
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because the Kings have said they're interested in Matisse Thybulle, right? We've heard the reports on that.
Yeah.
So could that be a possibility?
Just straight up, you think that deal can get done?
Have to look at the salaries.
Yeah.
I would say if you ask me where will Rashawn Holmes go, I'm going to tell you where I think he needs to be. He needs to be with a team that has a pass first point guard, a guard that looks to facilitate, when you look at when Rashawn Holmes played his best basketball here, he was playing with a guard that loves to facilitate, and on that pick and roll, he was killing it. So, being with a guard that scores, that's a score first guard, that's not going to work well for him.
That's true, but I think Rashawn Holmes could help the 76ers.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he can help any team.
Sure.
I'll tell you what, we might not want to talk about it, might not want to see it, but Rashawn Holmes would go to Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton and would kill it because Reese plays that type of ball.
I don't think we're getting Miles Turner now after that contract signing.
Yeah.
They give him $17 million this year, 60 for 2 more.
There's already some chemistry there too with Halliburton and Rashawn. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point, Henry.
For sure.
I mean, I'm just looking at how he played and when he played his best basketball.
No doubt. Well, again, it'll be interesting to see if the Kings do make a move between now and next week. We haven't heard anything, right? I mean, it's been so quiet.
No. I mean, and honestly, that's a good thing on our side because usually around this time we're like, "Hey, trade everybody.
Yes.
we need to trade everybody.
We're selling.
We need to get something done." Well, right now we're winning.
Yep. Wrapping things up here on game night, Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh along with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. Glad to have you with us this afternoon. Kings and Spurs tonight, 5 o'clock. We'll have Kings Live pregame at 4:30. Jason Ross will be in with Henry for that. It's time now to get to our Who's on the Floor report. It's brought to you by Gold River Floors. And again, for the Kings, everybody available tonight. The injury report says none. And that, again, has been amazing. We just keep knocking all season long. The Kings' health has been a big part of why they've been so good. As for the Spurs, Josh Richardson is probable. Romeo Langford is questionable. He is questionable. Dominic Barlow listed as out. And Devin Vassell also out with Charles Bassey. So that's the Spurs update. But again, for the Kings, they have nobody on an injury report, and we're over 50 games into the season. It's pretty remarkable.
Scott, that might be the number one thing that has helped the Sacramento Kings.
Without a doubt.
Is that they haven't had a major injury for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, De'Aaron's been out.
We don't talk about load management in Sacramento.
Right. I mean, De'Aaron's been out a game or two. Sabonis has been out a game or two. But they haven't had, either one of them that's been out for, some major time. So that has been a big time factor in, the Kings' success.
It has. All right. The On the Floor report brought to you by Gold River Floors. Let the pros at Gold River Floors assist you with all your flooring needs. 3 locations to serve you: Sacramento Flooring off Power Inn Road in Sacramento, Gold River Carpet One off Highway 50 in Rancho Cordova, and Gold River Flooring America off East Bidwell in Folsom. All right. Kings and Spurs tonight. We understand the scenario of this one. The Kings are heavy favorites tonight. The Spurs, a team struggling big time. They're 14-37 overall. They're just 9-19 at home. The Kings are 12-10 on the road, 28-21 overall. Great opportunity for the Kings tonight.
Kings have to take care of business. Plain and simple, Scott. Come out, hit hard, hit early, get these guys down. Don't give them any type of chance of thinking that they can win this game. Yeah.
Another guy that we both like a lot, and as we talk about names and what could happen with a potential trade deadline, Jakob Poeltl is a guy who, we hear Mason Plumlee's name a lot. Jakob Poeltl is a guy to me who has a lot of value in the league, and, the Spurs could be willing to move.
I'm going to tell you what, Scott, I would rather have Jakob Poeltl over Mason Plumlee. Because I feel like the way the Kings run their offense and the way they're having such success with Sabonis at the mid post and him being able to pass the ball and facilitate, I think Jakob Poeltl fits that mold more than what a Mason Plumlee does. Mason Plumlee is pretty much Rashawn Holmes, a pick and roll guy that's going to score above the rim.
Yeah, no, I've always liked his game a lot, and interesting. I mean, he's in his 7th, 8th year now. So as the Spurs are looking at their total rebuild and everything else, I mean, that might be a guy who certainly could be moved.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a good big man who's he's going to give you some big time minutes down low. He can block shots. He creates a lot of. I mean, soaks up a lot of space in the middle. And then another guy that can pass the basketball. He's a good passing big man, so you can definitely utilize him.
Yeah. All right. When you look at the Spurs, Keldon Johnson's their best scorer, had 26 last time out. Jeremy Sohan, he's an interesting rookie, colorful for sure, good rebounder, but is having an impact there. So they've got some young pieces, but they're young.
Young pieces that pretty much Pop is letting go and, developing their game, trying to see, okay, who are we going to be able to use going for the long haul? Let me see what these guys can do.
Yeah, his comment after the loss, Pop, that is, after the blowout loss to Washington, was, quote, "Our guys are doing what they can. It's one of those games. We had more fast break points. We had more second chance points. We had fewer turnovers. We had more points in the paint, but shot 20-something% from three, and they shot 50% or something like that. Game over. That's the new NBA."
Shooting that ball from three.
What do you think Pop thinks about the new NBA? Because, truthfully, Pop was one of the guys I think adapted to it the quickest. I mean, San Antonio had the Twin Towers with Robinson,
right,
of course, and Duncan, but then they became a 3-point shooting team. I mean, you look at the runs, going back to a decade ago, they were one of the teams who really started utilizing the 3-point line with Golden State.
You know what, Scott? They became a 3-point shooting team, but they still had that all-time dominant guy in Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
So I think they utilized the best of both worlds, and that's why they was able to, shoot those threes, because Tim Duncan created a double team every time he caught the ball in the low post.
Sure, that helps a ton, no doubt about it. And obviously, Pop is one of the great coaches of all time, and his ability to adapt to the game has been obvious throughout his career.
True. Pop has been one of the guys who has been able to just bring guys, put them into his system, and be able to flourish. But when you talk about this new jack style of NBA basketball, running up and down, spreading the floor, shooting a bunch of threes, Mike D'Antoni is the father of that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go back a little bit further, they didn't shoot threes, but as far as getting up and down and scoring, Don Nelson was the mastermind.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Don Nelson was the first one who tinkered with the small ball lineups.
Yep.
And had such great effect with that. There's no doubt about that as you go back throughout the history of the game. But certainly Popovich, one of the greats, no doubt about it. We don't know how much longer he's going to be coaching in San Antonio. There's no imminent announcement either. I mean, maybe he's going to go on for a few more years.
You have to figure out where Pop mind is right now. If his mindset is still on the situation of, hey, I have a lot to give and I want to teach basketball, he can stay in his league for as long as he wants to. But if his mindset is, still trying to win championships, well, championships not going to be in San Antonio's wheelhouse for a while.
No. Now, if they did somehow get the number one pick and got Wembanyama, maybe that changes quicker.
To get that guy, from what I'm seeing, yeah, but you know how I am about rookies.
I hear you.
Until you come into this league and you show me what you can do, I'm not trying to hear nothing about what you're doing in college, what you're doing in high school. That doesn't equate. The last person that dominated in college or high school that came in here and really made a big splash his first round was LeBron James. Even Kobe Bryant didn't do it.
No, Kobe struggled.
Yeah.
That's for sure, his first couple of years. But, of course, Wembanyama's playing overseas, and that's a little bit different. I mean, it's not the same as playing college or high school ball.
Yeah, but it's still not like playing in the NBA.
Okay.
You're playing the best of the best. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not throwing no shade towards European basketball, because I played over there for many years, and there's some great players playing over there. But it's still a total different game once you're playing in the NBA.
It is, but I mean, you look at like a Luka who came in and was able to dominate right away. I mean, playing all those years of pro ball and everything else, it seems like almost players who are coming in from overseas are a little bit more ready. Almost.
Well, they've been playing professional basketball, and and I honestly think that European basketball has caught up to the NBA big time.
I agree with that. All right, other things you're looking for tonight?
Just the Kings to take care of business, Scott. I mean, it's plain and simple when you look at what San Antonio has and the outlook that the Sacramento Kings should have. go in and take care of business and win this basketball game.
Yep. It was a big time win on Monday night. Maybe that's the game that gets this road trip going. Obviously, evening things up against the Timberwolves, winning that game in overtime. We'll see if it extends into San Antonio tonight. Henry, it's always great to work with you. Have a great call tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's going to do it for game night. Again, the Kings are on a 7-game road trip. This is their longest trip of the year, but a great opportunity for them, as we talked about, as you look at the schedule. San Antonio tonight, you've got the Pacers, who are struggling big time on Friday. The Pelicans, who lost their 9th straight. They're 500. Just a few weeks back, they were 26-17. And then you get the Rockets twice in a row. So you've got a chance to really expand upon this 28-21 record. Who knows? Maybe you come back home, you're 10 games above 500. That's all a possibility. We'll get the All-Star reserve selections tomorrow. The trade deadlines next week. A lot of good stuff going on with the Kings in the NBA. That's going to do it for game night. Coming up next, it will be Kings Live pregame. They will take you until 5 o'clock tonight. And then it's Kings and the Spurs. The G-Man is always with the call. Keep it tuned here all evening long. Kings basketball coming your way right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Have a great night, everyone.
The only place you'll find Malik Monk is Sactown Sports.
Oh my, what an athletic move that time by Malik Monk.
Hey Sacramento, it's Malik Monk, and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sactown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by Quick